rather interesting to see. You know, whether or not he can take on Fox News, it's certainly, I think, up for grabs. I mean, I think the ratings are down, 50% at Fox since he left. I know the ratings fell after I left at Fox Business, but maybe, they didn't care. They did get 40 new advertisers. So they brought some advertisers back. I guess that's a good thing. They are making it work however they can. But I think the reality here is that is sort of an industry of yesteryear. The future is ahead of us. There's so much change coming. There is so much ability for all of you and me to connect directly in ways that we never, ever could before. And I think people are ultimately the consumers that will decide this. So you will go and find who you want to listen to every day, every night. You come to this channel, you find me, and hopefully you have subscribed. If you haven't, shameless plug for the station, for the channel, do make sure you subscribe. It's important. I'm over on Twitter as well. And, I think this is very interesting. I think if you start taking more content broadly over these various channels and mechanisms, whether it be Facebook, whether it be, Twitter, I would say Twitter's got a little bit of a leg up in the ability to actually get information out more freely, only because of who their CEO is. And Elon is committed to making sure that you have all speech out there and that it doesn't get just shut down by a particular algorithm that says, nope, you didn't use the right gender pronoun, for goodness sakes. It was they. It was they. Anyway, so it's really, really remarkable. We're going to have more coming to you on the show. This is not the whole show. This is not I just wanted to join you because I was here working and the news crossed, and I wanted to show you that because it highlights the point that I'm making all the time, that we can do this together, that we collectively have a voice. And as much as they try and shut us down, if you subscribe and you hit the bell and you do all that and, go over to my website and sign up for the free newsletter so that we have this way to connect. It's critical that happen. It's critical that it happen because that way we can ensure that truth is heard, that all viewpoints are heard. It's really, truly essential. So Barry's making the point that if he does this show over at 8:00, it could absolutely ruin Fox. I think there's somewhat of look, they still have 50% of the viewers watching. So there's somewhat of a built-in audience, maybe. Maybe they're able to leverage that with the 40 new advertisers that they brought in. But I'll tell you, I bet you anything for Tucker, I know certainly for me, money is not everything. And he was making a lot of money there. I don't even know if he was able to do that. They're very restrictive. They're very restrictive. When I left, it was sort of touch and go for a while because you're technically still under contract and they're still paying you. And so there's the things you can do, things you can't do. I'm guessing he was probably able to do that because they may not have had some kind of hold on his ability to go on his social media accounts. But he may have also just forfeited some $20 million by doing that, right? According to reports, he was being paid very, very well. I don't think he necessarily needs the money. I think he probably wants to make sure he's on a platform sooner rather than later, because if he waits all the way until 2025, they can make him rather irrelevant. And that's how these contracts work, right? Because they figure, we brought you in, we invested in you. We don't want you anymore, but we don't want anybody else to have you. So they make it very restrictive so that you cannot actually get out there and reach that audience that you were able to build up. So I think he's saying, well, to heck with that, right? And he's got Elon. I bet he's got Elon on his side because, by the way, they just sat down and did the whole interview together. And I think if people can think intelligently about how we manage to walk this line, I'm not suggesting that there be any kind of violence or hate or content that's obviously hugely inappropriate. I'm just saying that we ought to be able to have intellectual conversations and not get all worked up by the choice of someone's words and not allow the left to take our words and use them against them and contort them in ways to suggest things that really aren't true. You'll recall even how the New York Times positioned I call it sort of a diary entry that Tucker had because he was texting his producer and somebody leaked it to the New York Times. And there was something in there that could have been interpreted perhaps as racist. So not great, But if you read the entire thing, it was actually this rather lengthy essay on self-discovery. And the bottom line, and by the way, they didn't report this. They only reported the headline that was going to fit their narrative. The bottom line was, when you got to the end of it, what you saw was he was making the point that we can't view people through a political lens ever, because we can't be reduced to that we're all human beings. And I think this is a very important point, and one that we all need to think about long and hard right now, especially going into another election where you're going to have a ton of bitterness, and you're going to have a whole lot of people that don't, and by the way, it doesn't even matter, like, okay, Trump, right? Whatever. They're going to do it to DeSantis. They do it to Glenn Youngkin. They did it to Mitt Romney. Remember Obama making fun of Mitt Romney, take your 1980s foreign policy back, when he suggested that Russia might be a problem? I mean, this is just their MO. The Democrats are always going to attack the Republicans, whoever they are. And so Republicans feel like, okay, well, I can't give them any ammunition. And they get kind of locked up in this state, and they're so fearful of offending anyone. The left is not afraid of offending anyone. The left is not afraid of canceling anyone. And so I think that this particular time in history is going to offer us all a chance to be more empowered, to have our own thoughts, and hopefully create an environment where the left has to listen, right? They're going to have to wake up to, it's not just their way or the highway. If that were to happen, look, I'll tell you, there's crazier things you think about what's going on in society and how fragile society is and how we don't know anything anymore. Like, you're debating whether a tree's a tree or whether a man is a man or a woman is a woman. This will not end well, and you have only to look at history to know that